So in December 2014, I won the NCAA National Championship for soccer. I won all tournament honors, that's the best 11 players in the whole tournament. I scored the first goal in the championship game while playing center defense, and I even gave the halftime speech. Lifting that trophy was at that point the greatest moment of my existence. A month later, I was arrested. And that, until this day, is the greatest moment of my life. I know it doesn't make sense right now why I said that, but I hope by the time I'm done speaking, you'll understand. I'm here today to tell you my story. I hope in a way that inspires people. I want the struggles that I've endured to serve others. I used to lie and cheat. I've ruined friendships with people who truly understood me and had my back. I've ruined relationships with people I loved. I got arrested. I wanted my life to end, and I did not care how. I was at the depths of my existence, and I turned it around. In my journey, I have learned invaluable lessons that have empowered me to be a better leader. So today, I'd like to teach you all about 3 things, 3 ideas that help save my life: patience, empathy, and forgiveness. I'll start with patience. To understand what patience taught me, I'll tell you a little bit about my time in school. In school, I was always the kid with potential. Teachers would say I was smart, but I was not realizing my potential. Now, I knew I never did anything to become smart, I just was. So I thought, eventually this potential thing would sort itself out. In 4th grade, I stopped doing all of my homework. In 5th grade, I didn't read a single book. In 6th grade, I lied to my English teacher for a month and a half about one paper, making up every excuse known to man. I skated by natural ability, and somehow I got accepted into one of the top 3 high schools in the country. In 9th grade, my biology teacher told me I did not belong at that school. I called my parents for support, and they told me to grow up. I was so overwhelmed with anger that I cut myself to feel some relief. At every failure, I would institute quick fixes. I would think, my life sucks, but if I just fix this one thing, it'll all go back to normal. I thought, I'll start going to class every day, that'll be the answer. I'll stop smoking weed every day, that'll be the answer. Take easier classes. I was replacing the windows on a house that was 75% burnt to the ground. And every time I flipped the switch and my failures continued, I blamed myself. There must be something wrong with me. Hopelessness. That's what I felt when my 15th quick fix didn't change a thing. But once I got arrested, I was done with my old ways. My old ways had ended with me in handcuffs. The legal proceedings took about 2.5 years, and once they were finished, I decided I was going to go back to school to study psychology. I gave myself permission to take as long as necessary to get good at this thing. I would start at 0 and build it from the ground up. I remembered how long it took to make all of my mistakes and said I would give myself at least that long to make things better. I had never been good at school. I had never taught myself how to sustain an effort over a long period of time, never, in 23 years. But for the first time, I was patient in my journey. I was so hungry for that immediate validation that I lost the true essence of existing. It is slow, conscious, deliberate actions that build something worth celebrating. Now they say Rome wasn't built in a day, and I used to hear that and think, but 2 days? 3 days? Are you kidding me? 4 days? But the saying is actually Rome wasn't built in a day, but a brick was laid every hour. Once I gave myself the opportunity to lay one brick at a time, to lay the same brick 50 times over until I got it just right, could my mind grow again. Anyways, patience was extremely helpful for me. And when we are tasked to lead others, whether it's in their own journey or in a collective effort, we should remember patience. How long did it take for you to become truly great at something? Don't merely just offer others the same opportunity, but consciously create a space in which the slow grind is an essential part of the process. Patience was the building block I needed to get to empathy. But I was not a sympathetic character when I was at the depths of my struggle with mental illness. I remember countless times where I found myself in front of a parent, coach, teacher, friends, parents, usually after I'd done something bad. And these people would tell me everything that was wrong with me. I could imagine how satisfying it would be to tell the kid who's caused you nothing but trouble why and how he's doing wrong. When I was young, it was, you're gonna grow up to be a bad person. Which age too? You're an adult. You should know better. What these people didn't know is that I knew all of this already. You want to insult me or tell me something that's wrong with me? Well, my mind is the worst bully I know. I constantly remind myself of my shortcomings, of my failures, and how I am to blame for all of these things. If your world is what you tell yourself, then my world was me being a piece of shit, ruining what should be a great life. Then I met my now therapist, Elizabeth. I went in to see her. You can imagine her room. There's pleasing artwork on the walls, 2 comfy chairs facing each other, a tissue box in the middle, a sound machine, a mini sandbox that I haven't played with, but I can still feel the happiness it radiates. I sat down with Elizabeth and I started to tell her everything I believed about myself, that I was a piece of shit, that I completely ruined my life, that I was worthless, not worthy of life itself. In my head, it's like I'm sitting on the ground and bigger versions of me are just circling me on bikes, yelling this stuff in my face. It adds a weight to my being, like something is pressing on my shoulders. But when I finished speaking, I looked up, and she's smiling. Why is she smiling? She said, you are not who you tell yourself you are. You are not a bad person. Yes, you made mistakes, but that does not define you. Think about everything that you've been through. Your sister, your best friend attempted suicide and you never processed that properly. You have never been good at school, and yet you are so hard on yourself for it. Elizabeth didn't just say nice things to make me feel good. She taught me how to have empathy for myself. Cultivating empathy has slowly freed my depressive mind from the constant negativity, which created a mental space where I could grow. I strive to offer others the same empathy that was so vital to my growth. To not merely dismiss their struggles as part of the human experience, but to look them in the eye. To say, I understand you, your journey. I know things are hard and I promise to help. I will fight with you. In the long line of people who sat down with me after I'd done something bad, the person who showed me empathy helped save my life. And once you learn empathy, you'll understand that it's a precursor to forgiveness. In my life, I've harbored a lot of resentment. Today I've talked about mentors who gave up on me, teachers who told me I didn't belong, my parents telling me to grow up. I had people at my old university who I thought were my friends who spread rumors about me once I left school. The same people who abandoned me when I needed them most. Now in my recovery, I wanted to move forward. I thought I could just accept responsibility for all these relationships ending and be done with it. But that was short-sighted. In order to truly move on, I needed to forgive all these people. And in forgiveness, I began to understand the reasonings for doing what they did. It is a hard endeavor to try to save somebody who seems almost desperate to make the wrong decisions. And I forgive them all. But there's more. The hardest part has been forgiving myself. Something I'm still working on today is forgiving myself for wanting to take my own life. In the last 2 years, in the first time since I can remember, I've experienced hope. I've experienced meaningful success. I felt truly loved and respected for who I've chosen to be as a person. And I forgive myself for almost taking it all away. I remember I used to be watching TV and the trailer for a movie would come on and the release date would be in a couple of months and I would think, I'm probably not going to be here to see that movie. Forgiveness has been my savior. Forgiving takes incredible strength. It is a radical acceptance of our own mistakes that shows others to accept their own. So now I've told you all about 3 things today: patience, empathy, and forgiveness. Back in the day, I had given up. I had for real given up. Until someone came along and showed me that I had yet to give myself one real chance at success. I'm grateful for my struggles because I used to believe that the goal was to alleviate discomfort through escape. But my struggles taught me that fulfillment through perseverance is an ultimate success. And I'll be honest with you, I've been honest with you this whole time, but I'll be honest with you again. I kind of feel like a fraud a little bit. So after I left my old university, after I got in trouble, I hid. I didn't tell anybody about what happened. I was just so embarrassed. And a couple months later, my dad saw my best friend, Sully. I used to call Sully my son. He was like my shadow. Sully told my dad that I had taught him what it meant to be a man. And when I first heard that, I was incredibly proud. But the pride quickly turned to shame. If I was his teacher, he had learned all the wrong things. I was a bad leader. I was too caught up in my own madness to realize that others were looking up to me. I feel like I let my best friend down. And the reason why I'm telling you this, the reason why I tell you this, that on my arrest, is that I want you to know the whole me. Yes, I've overcome a lot and I've made some great tangible progress, but I have not come close to making amends for everything in my past. And I make mistakes every day. No one is a completed project. We are all here to get better. And that's all we can do. So let us hone our strengths and conquer our weaknesses together. And in closing, I'd like to ask everyone here to think of someone in their life that could use patience, empathy, forgiveness. Give them patience to fail on their journey to success. Give them empathy when your gut reaction is resentment and anger. And forgive for everything. Think about that someone and make an effort. And remember that someone might be you. Thank you.